Welcome to the Plan B CRNA podcast. I'm your host, Bobby Jones, and I'm so excited that you're here. The Plan B CRNA podcast is the only show made specifically for nurse anesthetists who are exploring options outside of their traditional career paths. This is the place to expand your mind and your goals as we uncover new ways to produce side income together. The mindset that we bring to any situation plays a key part in overcoming challenges and really enjoying our unique paths in life. On Thoughtful Thursdays, I like to explore emotional topics that are relevant to CRNAs and other providers. I think of this as my therapy, and I hope you learn some tips and tricks that you can use along your own journey. This episode is brought to you by On-Call Capital. On-Call Capital is dedicated to educating CRNAs and other healthcare providers about investing outside of the traditional stock market. On-Call Capital also provides opportunities for you, yes, you, to create passive income and generational wealth while also lowering your taxable income through investments in the apartment and alternative investment spaces. If you haven't hit subscribe yet, make sure you do that right now so that you don't miss an episode. Thanks so much for joining me today, and now on with the show. Welcome to Thoughtful Thursdays on the Plan B CRNA podcast. I'm your host, Bobby Jones, and as always, I like to start these particular episodes off with a quote that gets me thinking. Sadhguru once said, "In mediocrity, there is comfort, but no joy. In going beyond your limits, there is joy, but maybe no comfort. You have to choose." When approaching Christmas, we hear many feel-good slogans, don't we? It's the most wonderful time of the year, after all. Have a holly jolly Christmas. Joy to the world. Believe in the magic of Christmas. Put a little jingle in your step. And as you may have already guessed by the quote, I'd like to talk about those tidings of comfort and joy that we hear about. Let's start with comfort, shall we? The definition of comfort is easy enough. It's a state of physical ease and freedom from pain or constraint, or the alleviation of a person's feelings of grief or distress. The word comfort can certainly have different connotations for each of us, but I like to think of it as relaxation, sitting in a nice big comfy chair with a steaming cup of coffee and a good book to read. That's comfort to me. Now, joy is defined as a feeling of great pleasure and happiness. So it seems to me that comfort and joy fit pretty well together. If you have one, you can have the other, depending on what you're up to, of course. Joy is a bit more all-encompassing, and there are things that may bring you joy that don't necessarily bring you comfort, which is what our quote is really about. The smaller your comfort zone is, the harder it is to find joy in life. It's so easy to put ourselves in a bubble today. We can create our own echo chamber by muting the voices we don't agree with or by choosing news sources that cater to our preconceived notions. But the more you put yourself inside of a bubble, the more things that are outside of that comfort zone can really suck the joy away from you. We see this all the time. I mean, why do some people who are in their 70s still struggle with email, while some 90-year-olds are able to handle email and Facebook and Zoom calls and all the rest? When we limit ourselves to what is comfortable at a given moment, it doesn't allow us to learn and grow as the world around us continues moving forward. And how many stories are we bombarded with where someone who has everything becomes suddenly unhappy? They have a seemingly comfortable life, but they aren't enjoying it. When you aren't challenged, when you don't have some kind of purpose, well, I don't think you're going to be overfilled with joy. Complacency can set in pretty quickly. But I'd like to propose that this choice between comfort and joy doesn't have to really be a choice at all. Why can't we have both? What would that kind of a path even look like? The key for me is in growth. I've found that when I'm committed to personal growth, I am better equipped to find both comfort and joy. In fact, pushing the limits of my comfort zone can provide numerous benefits. There's less fear of the unknown. More of my comfort zone and comfort in general comes from increased knowledge. Better stress responses. You get to be more comfortable with risk-taking and failure. Increased focus, creativity, drive, working memory, and task management. And better mastery over your own emotions. It's easy to say you should just get out of your comfort zone, but that's not always easy. I think the important thing to consider here are small steps that are involved and how awkward those steps can sometimes be. There's a lesson we can learn from our earlier days. When you were a toddler, for instance, you didn't tell yourself that you just weren't any good at walking, so you were just going to quit. Heck no. I mean, you used every mistake as a lesson, easing your way into a different comfort zone. You found joy in the accomplishment, and soon walking became as comfortable to you as breathing. So, what are a few ways that you can start finding joy in stretching your comfort zone? Well, number one, start small. You don't have to go big or go home here. And even the longest journey starts with a single step. Go say hi to a coworker you've never said hello to. Take a different route to work. Try a new soup recipe in the crock pot other than the chili you've made dozens of times. Breaking goals down into smaller pieces that are easier to accomplish can boost your confidence. When you start doing small things and seeing progress, your attitude begins to shift. Number two, making changes to your daily routine. This is kind of an easy one because of the sheer amount of opportunities here. You can shower in the morning instead of at night. You can get up early to exercise or stay up late to get extra work done. You can switch from coffee to tea or bacon and eggs to a protein shake. The possibilities are truly endless. Number three, you can learn something new. This one's pretty self-explanatory. Sometimes when we get out of school and into our careers, we stop challenging ourselves to learn new things. I've always wanted to learn how to play guitar, but there's no easy way to do that. I simply have to make the time to do it. But you don't have to take drastic measures. Maybe you just want to take a class at a local community college or learn how to ride a horse or build a model car. Again, the possibilities are kind of endless here. Number four, you can make a pledge to do one nice thing per day. Whether that's taking some of your time to volunteer or just showing kindness to a coworker with an encouraging note, it can serve the dual purpose of engaging you in your community and tapping into the part of us that wants to help one another. It just feels good to be useful. Number five, physical change, mental change. You may want to take on physical change, such as, embracing a new diet or taking on a new fitness regimen. This can be a big step for many, so you may need outside advice and assistance in getting started. But the idea is that physical exercise can be a boost to your mental health in terms of confidence and overall mood. And number six, face your fears. Okay, you knew this one was coming, right? I'm afraid of snakes, but I'm not about to go start picking up a bunch of snakes. But there's little doubt that when you face your fears, those things that you feared can become things that are at home in your comfort zone when you get used to them. You may even find joy in conquering your fears. For you type A's out there, you can start to address your fears with a best and worst case scenario list. Learning to accept the worst things that can happen can be quite helpful too, especially when you realize that the worst things aren't actually all that bad sometimes. So to close out here, I believe that you can find comfort and joy in your everyday life. By embracing a growth mindset and expanding your comfort zone, you will find more joy and ultimately more comfort overall with yourself, your abilities, and the world around you. Thanks for joining me. To learn more about expanding your own comfort zone, check out the article links in the show notes. If you found value today, make sure you hit subscribe so that you don't miss an episode. I also want to hear from you. If you have a question, comment, or topic that you'd like me to cover in an upcoming show, make sure you rate and review on your podcast player. I check those all the time, and I cover those questions in future episodes. Be safe and take care of each other out there. This is Bobby Jones signing off. Thank you so much for joining me for another episode of the Plan B CRNA podcast. If you haven't already subscribed and reviewed the show, I'd be honored if you took the extra time. It really helps to expand our reach and get the word out about the show. If you're a CRNA who is interested in sharing your story on our podcast, I'd love to have you. Please email me at bobby@oncallinvestments.com for more information. This episode was brought to you by OnCall Capital. They are dedicated to helping providers like you develop passive income and generational wealth through investments in the apartment and alternative investment spaces. Feel free to check out their website at www.oncallinvestments.com and subscribe to their free educational email series. You can find OnCall Capital on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. You can also check out our YouTube page, where you'll find all of the show episodes along with other educational videos. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you on the next episode.